then it makes a change in a person. And there is another very important part I think you should add to that, is listening to discourses given by real people who have brought change in the society. And the second most important point is this, that a very, very important question was raised by our Brahmagyani Sadgurus and the people like Vivekanand ji and Ramakrishna Paramhans, Asaramji Babu, and many other saints who are there in the present from Chinmaya Mission also. Who am I? You know, no matter how much knowledge you give to a kid, by the time he starts raising money and he's stressed out, this knowledge of learning academics will be there with him. It's ingrained, it's in his subconsciousness. But if he's not able to know the question, know the answer of the question, who am I? What am I doing over here? So he will end up being stressed out. He will be a patient of BP. He will be a patient of so many other facts. So in your curriculum, just add one part. Who am I? Why am I doing this? This question, if not raised by the age of 2 or 3 years old, if that question is not put in his mind, when he's reaching our age, he will be a, you know what Lata Auntie just said, that he will be like, okay, I'm making so much money and so is my friend. How can I, go above that and how can I get more 2 houses? So all this knowledge will drain out of him if he doesn't incorporate that knowledge, if he's not able to answer to the question, who am I? Why am I doing this? So that's a very important part. So that's what I think, curriculum, hands-on approach. Learning, what is this? Why am I doing this? So please, this is a request to all the groups over here. Please put that knowledge. Question them. So that's my suggestion, and that's, I hope, that is it.
Very well said.
All right, thank you, everyone. So we want to move on a little bit and switch gears slightly. And I do want to play a little catch up with the clock, so I might be the bad guy every now and then. But strengths and weaknesses of our programs. That's such a varied topic, and it's literally can span the entire gamut. You can talk about strengths and weaknesses in any facet, whether it's our curriculums, attendance, parents' roles, money, time management, space. There's literally strengths and weaknesses can go any which way. But that's why we've split up today into various different sessions, right? So parents, the strengths and weaknesses of the role of the parents, we want to save that discussion for the afternoon. We want to save any strengths and weaknesses in what we have with our technology and all that stuff for later in the afternoon. What I want to focus on in this session is administration, top down. So if you think about what we're going through right now as a nation, right? We're in, and don't read into my political views here, we're in massive debt, right? The general perception of Congress is that they're ineffective. They just fight a lot. It's all partisan politics. And as a result, at the very highest levels, that filters down. So it goes from the federal Congress, the state Congress, nobody can make a budget. I mean, we almost had a complete financial collapse. We couldn't get a budget together until weeks after we needed it, months after we needed it. Right? So when the administration is cracked and crumbling, everything else suffers. Right? We've been mired in financial chaos because our administration can't get their act together. And by administration, I mean the entire government. Look at that at a micro scale here, right? At our program levels, our administration is like the government. We run everything. So our entire structure is defined by how well our administration is run. Now, our administration doesn't necessarily mean a very structured program, right? Your administration could be like the Bauligas, right? Where it's basically no administration, right? That's also an administration, we call it. there's, whether your curriculum is the quote unschooling school of thought, or whether it's a rigid, very, very rigidly defined, that's all going to be implemented by how your administrators, your teacher, and your management level decides. So there's a couple aspects involved here. How do they actually physically control, the day-to-day operations? And how do they control the flow of money? So let's focus on your space allocation, right? How do we use our space effectively? In our temple, that's a big issue. We don't have a dedicated space. Some temples have really great classrooms and auditoriums, right? So this is something that is a strength for a lot of temples, and they found solutions for it. For us, it's a weakness because it handicaps our enrollment. We can't handle more than 50 kids, right? And there's interest for a lot more than 50 kids, but because of space, we can't handle it. Right? Some Balviharas have to rent space, so that's another expense. So now you've got space and finance, right? So is this a strength or is it a weakness? Where's the location? Is it at a temple? Is it outside? Is that a strength or a weakness? And it could be either way, depending on your program. For some programs, that's a really good thing, is that I'm at a school location, right? Because that has its own things that you bring into there. They're in that already mentality, that mindset, just by being in that physical building, that this is where I'm imparting knowledge and imbibing that kind of school mentality. In a temple, you have other considerations. I'm in a temple. I'm gaining comfort in being in a temple from a young age, and I grow up here. That's important. So I don't know if you guys are seeing that there's both facets to each of these things, right? There's weaknesses in being in a temple as well. It's harder to run around and be a kid, right? Because there's the place of worship and prayer. You can't really run around and be loud all the time. So, again, and I'm just trying to give a large overview here, but I think it's important that we limit this to the administration discussion, because that's something that we overlook, right? We talk about curriculum a lot, we talk about all kinds of other things a lot, what our parents do, we need to get a teenagers program, but nobody focuses on the fact that how are, from the top level, everything being disseminated, right? How are we interacting with our teachers? Do we have a way that our teachers interact with our parents, right? Do we have a way for our homework to be disseminated over the week? If a kid forgets what his homework is, or he leaves his bag in class or something, what happens then? These are all things that we need to think about from an administrative standpoint. And I do want to open it up in a very structured way so we can discuss, okay, we all have very successful programs, and so we've all clearly thought about how we want to administer them and how run them. So what has worked for us, right? How have we resolved space issues? Because we have all dealt with them. We've all dealt with them, right? So think about how we resolve those issues or plan on resolving those issues. What about money, right? I know Balvikas doesn't charge money, and it works. They found a way to make it work. Some of us do charge money, but we're still like completely running in debt, right? Or we can't run the program with all the resources we need to, despite charging money, right? So maybe there's a financial management problem, right? Is this an issue we can kind of tackle here? So these are the types of issues we want to talk about. And I want to start with the actual inception of the Balvihar, structuring it from an administrative level, right? So kind of building it from the ground, but the ground in this case is the top. If that makes sense, right? So
To make this more
a little bit of
productive,
an
make it more productive, could you say how much time we have, and maybe you should just say how much time we have and ask the major organizations to speak for X amount of time so that everybody gets a chance to give their ideas?
So it's 12:03. We want to literally stop at 12:45, which gives us 42 minutes. So,
I think it should be restricted to one person per organization.
right, so I think we have 11 groups. I'm gonna, so maybe 4 minutes each.
You have 11 organizations represented here which have structure.
That's the last count I did. It was probably more by now, but.
No,
I don't think you have 11 organizations which have structure.
Yes.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay.
That was
Their
signed
own
up.
way, they do have their own.
So that's the point, right? That's just, actually you raise a good point, is we don't have a structure, but not having a structure is a structure, right? Anarchy is a form of governing, right? Even though it's lack of government.
Oh, my name is Afra. Okay.
So that's an important point, is the lack of a structure something that works well? And is it something that we want to consider?
So,
Right.
I think we seem to suggest that a lot of organizations which are represented here do not have.
I'm not
Structure.
suggesting one way or the other
So that's
because
not
I don't
the
know.
case.
I think let's.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Bal Vikas from New Jersey, one, they have New Jersey, one,
How many of you have a structure?
they first, let's find out the
Now, structure, we don't mean curriculum, all right? Curriculum and your structure are different. The curriculum is a physical, think about your curriculum in your school, right? What am I learning? In my curriculum in biology, I learn about,
You can ask them for name in different organizations, then they will know.
let's just take 3 minutes each. Let's just pick 3 minutes each and arbitrary number will be finished. But I don't mean what's your curriculum, right? Your curriculum is what's the physical stuff that I'm learning, right? So in like English class, I learned prepositions and articles and sentence structure and punctuation, right? That's your curriculum. The structure is how many teachers do I have? What groups am I broken up into? What's my time, right? How do I effectively manage this in the space that I have? Like that's the structure. So literally thinking about three branches of government and then two, houses, blah, 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 blah. That's what I mean by structure.
So let's start with the biggest one. Yeah,
I have been through all these growing pains because we had 25, 30 kids. Our temple was a church and it has got them. So we used to take the classes. We have a small basement. Our temple is very small, very small. I know some of you have seen it. But we used to take a class in basement, in a foyer, and in the hallway, in the temple hall. And the children, when there's a carpet and there is no desk and a chair, they have a tendency to lie, to stretch out, to talk, and things like that. It became very interrupting. So it grew so fast and so big, and trustees didn't want the temple, Bal Vihar to go out of the temple. I didn't have enough people to run 2 times 2 days and all these things. So finally,
2 times 2 days?
yeah, means, if I have to divide the children in,
So Saturday and Sunday,
Saturday
morning and
Sunday
evening.
and morning and evening. I don't have that many volunteers to run the program, so neither do I. I don't want to commit to that kind of time either. So we do our thing in a high school. We have huge 2 cafeterias. We have 9 classrooms, and that's where we have everything. We love it there. We get projectors. We can do all high tech. We have PowerPoint presentations for children for all the festivals and everything.
How many hours per session? In the
Per
morning?
session we start from 10 o'clock until the lunch time. We have lunch we provide after that. So at 12:30, it goes from 10 to 2:15. We have yoga first, and we start. Everybody has a different session. So I think that space becomes a problem. Yes, I totally agree that I didn't want to charge money, but the parent says we have to charge money. I put in $40,000 in temple's account through Bal Vihar this year. Because parents are they are very well-off young parents. They want to give money, they donate the money, and program is running, flourishing like anything. Temple's membership has grown tremendously. And so the membership is only $25 and we charge $100 for whole year. And we provide lunches, we provide them book bags, we provide them t-shirts. $100 for whole year, nobody minds. You know, they want to give. Then they come forward now and they say we will sponsor lunches for birthdays and things like that. So our administrative is all computerized, we have registration on that, and parents are so high-tech, they all take care of it. I'm sure by time.
Can I ask her a question about her active question? So when you provide lunches, this is how we started at Manga Mandir also. We started with providing lunches. We do charge a fee, it is very nominal and we raised it a little bit, I think, just now. When you provide lunch, do you have volunteers who cook and clean? Because I have seen a big problem where all of us want seva, kids to learn seva, but I haven't seen that same coming from parents. So, and I mean, we're volunteering, like, just like Mr. Ram said, they drop them off, they go shopping. So they don't stick around to help with things. Somebody said that, sorry, somebody said that.
So actually, I think that question, actually, we're gonna address in the next session. Because that's really involved with the parents. But if you have, I don't know, any insight with respect to your own personal thing, but I think we're gonna address that in the next session.
Based on something about structure, I think, for example, we do it in a house. So for our major activities, we need a space. And Durga Mandir has been so generous. In fact, Guptaji was so anxious to have the activities here. He said, I will show you, we need 6 different spaces for conduct competition. I said, Durga Mandir doesn't seem to have it. One day he came and showed us all the nooks and corners where we can have competition. We need, that is one of the important things I hope will come out of it. If we are all cooperating with each other, if you don't have an activity in your building, if you let us have our activity, that will help a lot. Okay? Just to give you a direct example, when we conduct competitions in July, Chinmaya Mission doesn't usually have much activity. And your Chinmaya has 7 rooms where the competitions can be conducted for different age groups. And we can all have the assembly upstairs. Ideal place. I have not been able to get it. So let us talk about how we can cooperate among ourselves, because each one of us cannot create a huge structure. But by sharing, we can make it work.
So if I could actually just ask Rahul the question is, so your Bhavikas doesn't really have like a true administration, right? You don't have this structure where you have, we have 4 different grades and 7 different teachers, and we're using 4 books and they learn 3 chapters a week or whatever. You don't have that.
No, we do have it.
Curriculum.
We do have it in our own way.
Right, so it's a very different way, right? You do it differently, and I think
Srinivasan tells them what exactly to do. He sends them the MP3 for shlokas that they have to learn and all that. And when we have presentations, so we organize the presentations, but we do it without having to pay for something, because we don't collect. So it is in private houses, or thanks to the Durga Temple, some of the major activities where more people come, we do it here. That what I'm saying is, by sharing among ourselves, we can make things work. If we focus on children, it can be done.
I have a question. If the parent comes to you and says, I want to see your syllabus, do you have something to show it?
We ain't got no syllabus, that's what I told you earlier. We have no syllabus, but I have a syllabus in my head. The children will learn the core, but in our own way. Okay?
All right, let's move on to
Next.
There are 2 aspects to administration. One is when you have a curriculum and you have a group of teachers, scheduling becomes a big issue. We don't not necessarily have not only that we have teachers, we have backup teachers also. So in order to trainee teacher, for example, they work in, they cooperate with each other and they know their roles very well. That's one of the aspects that one has to, when you grow, that level has to be addressed. And that is being done currently by our chapter directors. We do charge for our services. It's a service. We do not want to grow our children with a freeloader mentality. Everybody expects everything free, and that should not be the case. If somebody wants to share something, we have to be cognizant of the fact that there are associated costs that have to be met. Somebody has to be generous for our freeloading. So we have to be very mindful of that aspect. Other administration part, we are a 501c3 organization. We account for every single penny that comes in our charity to us. We issue a contribution statement at the end of the year. We mail out about 1,500 of those to every single person who has given any donation, whether it's in kind or it's in money. The only way that any organization can grow is by the support, not well-wishing support as we expect people to pay out. If there is a structured way, then we can all grow. Only with that strength, we have been able to undertake a big project of $10 million where we're building Chinmay Somnath in Chantilly. We know that we have been paying over $100,000 as rent to the public schools every year. This money does not come from somebody's pocket easily. But unless we have the strength to muster this as a community, this is a community-based project, it's not only individual. I can have 80 people in my basement, but that's not going to grow anywhere. It will stay where it is. Although I have a curriculum and everything else, I'm not going to grow. When we think about 3,000 families in Ashburn area, how do we serve them? We have to have a structure, and that structure has got to be well managed. That's what we try to do. Everyone is a volunteer. There's not a single person in Chinmay Mission who gets paid for their services. Those are the aspects that we have to master. This is our service to the society that we do. And we have to make sure that our children understand the value of values and they're willing to pay for it. It should not be just free for everybody. There are aspects that should be free. I agree with that. But at the same time, everything, that service that we provide has to have a value and must be paid for by every parent. This value has got to be inculcated into the parent's mind also. But that's all I have to say.
So, if I can take a quick poll, just to follow up on that. How many of us have, our programs have a home, a permanent home, where I know if I don't pay my rent, I won't get kicked out? So, like if you have a permanent home, if your program has a permanent home, you're not renting space, you know, you're not worried about whose house is it going to be at next week, are they going to be on vacation? I'm just wondering, like, who has a permanent home?
We are looking for one in Virginia. We have one in Maryland.
And who's kind of wondering week to week, you know, all right, so-and-so is on vacation. Where do we have class? Or, oh, we didn't have rent money this month. What do we do? Anybody has programs that are in that situation?
Let me add a comment there. I think when you talk about public home, I think you talked about how parents should be part of the program, right? So I think in this case, we do have public home in the sense somebody's getting the expect of placement.
Can you hold the phone to the
Yeah. And if that parent is not there, someone else is going to get their placement. So I don't think we never had an issue with that.
Fixed location. Fixed
Fixed location.
So I think there's a positive and yeah. I mean, we never ran out of space in our 30 of life.
It used to be my basement until last year.
Yeah. So we always have somebody volunteering to let the space for us.
Yeah, I think it's a philosophical discussion we are getting into. I think let's not get into this point because it's all a scale. I think from your perspective, you're completely right. If I start with 10 children in my house and 15 children, it can run forever. And that will work. We're talking about, you know, the size of our Bollywood program? 1,200 children. Are you going to have 1,200 children in your house? No, I'm just saying, you have to think that way. You cannot do such kind of a program in somebody's basement. And for that, that's exactly his point. You cannot do that. You need a temple, you need a location, you need a thing, and you need finances, you need resources. That's the way you scale.
Well,
Today,
my point is
let me
this.
finish. Today, we have 25,000 children in Chinmaya Bal Vihar children around US. We probably have 200,000 children in Bal Vihar, some kind of Bal Vihar program across the US. They're not running in basements of people's houses. So that's the point I'm trying to make. We need to organize this program here. Here we're talking about is how do we establish an organized structure in facilities that can have a structured program.
Yeah,
That's
as a
the point.
parent, I mean, I'm a quasi-administrator, if you will. I would prefer to be called a teacher. But as a parent, I don't mind the option. I would love to have the option of it all depends on the stage of what stage and maturity level of my child and what will give her and him the specific need that I'm looking for. I might want a very, very structured program and established organization, or I might want, at the end of the day, I think they're all options. They are different philosophical discussion that we shouldn't get into necessarily. At the end of the day, if we're working for our children and the goals of the children, those are options that we have for our kids.
I think that actually sums up fairly well the issue about the location and where we hold classes. And I think the point is that it works in both ways, right? It does. That you can have programs in a basement, but it's a reality that if you do it in a basement, you're going to handcuff yourself to a certain size, right? And even in our case, where it is at the largest temple in Massachusetts, we're still handcuffed at a certain size, right? Because of our actual physical resources. We don't have classrooms and whatnot. So yeah, it works in both ways. We have a great program, but it works in both ways. It works, but only up to a certain point. And I think that's what we're trying to get, that there are strengths in doing both ways and there are weaknesses in doing both ways. You get too big, right? You need an actual dedicated team to actually just doing administration, right? So when it's smaller, you can do everything. But that I want to sort of graduate, or not graduate, but shift to that aspect of it. So just very quickly, my personal experience, I started out teaching at our program. I started out as a teacher for like 11 and 12-year-olds. This past year, I stopped teaching largely because I'm a complete goofball and I have like no authority over the children whatsoever, and they run all over me. But that issue aside, I now do the administration. So I handle all the administration for the program. And that has its own challenges and its own issues that go along with it. So there's a lot of work that I do during the week outside of the 2 hour, 3 hours. We have ours on Friday nights. So aside from the Friday night class, there's a lot of other work in the administration, right? And it's a very different approach to looking at things from a teacher's perspective than from an administrator's perspective. Right? I need to make sure that the teacher has all the resources. I need to make sure I know which kid is there, right? I need to make sure I have attendance. This kid was here and he is not. Where did he go in the 10 minutes I took attendance? Is he safe? Right? Did he fall in the toilet? Right? Okay. Right? What happened? Did he run away? Blah, blah, blah. These are issues. Right? So that's kind of where I want to get to in the next, what do we have, 10, 20 minutes maybe, is the issues surrounding the actual physical implementation of what our teachers do and how they're given the resources to accomplish what we all want them to accomplish, and that's part of knowledge, right? But what's the nitty-gritty of getting to that point? So at the start of the year, I've got my money. How do I allocate that money to buy the proper resources, right? If I don't have money, what do I do to get the resources?
I have one question on size. It's a size cost problem in the sense lose individual touch.
Correct.
Because in a smaller environment, it's very easy to interact with the kids. So in the big size, the senior application, for example, they lose the touch.
Excellent point. I think very good point. And I think our class sizes are 20. We don't have more than 20. But we do have the same problem when we have common assembly. When you have a common assembly, you have you have 300, 250 people in common assembly, and managing them is really difficult. And I totally agree. When you scale up, if I had to go back, it'd be great to have 20 people. I've come to Ram Uncle's house. It's so nice to have 30 people. It's so personal. You need to see the same people again and again and again every year. And I know Uncle sees the same people for the last 20 years, 15 years. We don't have the same people come every year. There's a turnover.
Also children
Yeah,
grow up.
but it's less, But that's the reality of it. There's pluses and minuses, and but that's the reality of. The idea is if you want to scale, I think that's something that you have to go with. We haven't heard from.
I think Sarika had a point in the back that she had her hand raised over. So.
What do you think the threshold is? 50, 100, 100?
Sorry, JJ, I wanted to let her ask her question because she had her hand raised for a while. So.
Mine's on it's a little different than what we're talking about right now, but I think the biggest problem in terms of administration for our program is educating the teachers. It's not that they have trouble learning things in Hinduism and things like that. I think that's pretty easy to find these days, things on the internet and courses and things like that at ashrams. But educating teachers on how to educate, how to deal with children and things like that. Because we do have in our last 3 levels of the program, it's pundits teaching. So they have a pretty solid level of Hinduism, knowledge of Hinduism and stuff in there. But in terms of how to tell it, as Samir was talking about, how to tell a child to sit down and have them listen, I think that's something our teachers kind of need to learn. So if we have any resources on that, I guess we could share.
Excellent point, and that's something is this the role of the administrator, right? To collect resources to figure out how do we teach, right? Because you don't want an administrator who's coming and yelling at kids and hitting them, interacting with them, because that's in direct contradiction to how we're raised in this country, right? And now all of a sudden that kid is at odds with the program and by extension his entire culture, right? That's just how the mentality works. So that's an important point. How do we educate them, right? And what's the role of the administrator here if there is some sort of malbehavior going on, right? If there is a lot of yelling, screaming, and shouting, corporal punishment going on. Excellent point. I don't have the answers to this, but I'm sure among us we do. And again, today we have 7 hours, right, together. We're not going to come up with the solutions to everything today. We're not, right? And it's naive to think so. But being in the same room together, we can take it upon ourselves to, in future, interact with each other and then collectively come up with the resources over time. So we need to stay in touch. I mean, Ram Uncle's been saying this over and over and over, and that's really the point. We need to identify the problems and issues today and stay in touch and resolve them together afterwards.
I don't know if everybody know what goes on in DT as well. So I'm going to give you very short, very short. 6 classes, Sunday 4 to 6, around 120 kids, around 2 hours. Food follows that. Money charged. Little bit goes to VHPA for curriculum. Other one goes to the Durga Temple for using the facilities. Few little bit money for the activities. Parents decide most of the time what to do, what not to do. Curriculum is followed by Ashrita Gurukulam. And of course VHPA follows Ashrita for Purna Vidya curriculum. And what else? We take polls, we ask parents, all volunteer, no money, cultural thing is part of the curriculum, but very small, just as an introductory part, but wholly owned by parents. We focus on academics only. What else? That sums up. And,
It's certainly scaled from 40.
yeah, language. We used to have IIS, India International School, as a totally other side of the coin, non-religious side of the coin. Didn't work out, whatever, for the reason. So we stayed with our religious part of it. We do not want to compete with anybody because I think there is a market for everybody, so to speak. Parents are interested in different type of structures or whatever. The major customer base is the one who wants to have mandir and religious aspects associated with the teachings of the kids, not only academics. So that way we are kind of different from you.
Now, we do have a shrine. We have a shrine.
No,
We
I
do
mean
have
temple. So people wants to go darshan and all that and then come to class. Is the high school building. So that's about it for Balu. Mangal Mandir. No one?
We are also about the same as Durga Temple. We follow VHP's Vidyalaya curriculum, but it's not very rigid. We have 4 classes, 120 students as I said earlier, but we only have about 8 or 9 teachers. We are in dire need of space. We have a whole long wait list of kids who want to be in the program. We just do not have the room to accommodate them. We are looking into one thing which is used school trailers. We found that they can be economical and we can probably try and get more kids that way, but we still haven't received anything. We charge fees. The fees is just to make sure, it's very nominal, it's just to make sure that the parents and the kids take the class seriously so that they just don't enroll and not show up with us and give a wait list. And we also do cultural program. And we start the class actually with meditation. We start with Dhoon meditation. Then we go to respective classes. In the class also we do some meditation, yoga. And then we have 1 hour of teaching. We started with language teaching also. We started Hindi, but we didn't get much interest from everybody, so we kind of dropped that. Our program is not very rigid. We found that the kids interact better if we do a one-on-one where we have question and answer sessions. But that's it.
That kind of stuff.
One aspect about the language classes I would like to emphasize.
You have another one.
One aspect about the language classes is that we have to be cognizant of the fact that most of the literature that you have from the saints and sages is in local languages. We have Marathi, Gujarati, Tamil, Telugu, whatever. And unless our children are introduced to those languages, at least to be able to read, they will not be able to take advantage of the literature. And I think that aspect should be at the highest recognition for us to make sure that our children learn the languages also.
Mr. Google knows everything now.
That's true, but another
They
aspect
can't
is
read it, they
that
cannot
kind of
understand it.
introduction.
Concepts have to be.
Somebody, that one introduction basically, here also there was a discussion about it, but the presumption of regionalism shows up when you talk about that. So it has its own aspects. We tried to stick to Sanskrit, and that was too difficult for the people. So we got out.
Can I say something? So going back to the administrative strength and weakness, there is fees, there is no fees, but we all know there is money is the one. And then there is a scale issue. Somebody wants to scale, some doesn't want to scale. For an example, I don't want to scale. Wherever I'm going, I don't want to scale, right? But there are some good points coming out of it. People who wants to scale can go to Chimya Mission and say, how are you scaling? I think that is the whole purpose of this thing.
Yeah, already,
What makes
yeah.
you, right? What makes you scale? What are all the things that you are doing, right? On the other hand, she is looking for space
And we got an idea, like, somebody who, a trailer, so that there is an avenue to look for trailer. Now, in an organization like Jimmy Mission may be able to influence because of their section 5013C and their scale, they may be able to go to a local government and say, you know what, we are so and so, we are helping so many families, give us some space. I think what I am trying to say is, I think discussion around that could help this team rather than who we are. What I think many of us know, and we all want to stay wherever we are. Right?
Very good point.
Couldn't agree more. We want to find a common theme so we can really kind of do some solution driving. You don't want to leave today and say, okay, it was just a matter of, we heard more about each other, which I knew mostly about. I heard a few more things. But okay, how about some problem solving and getting to some solutions?
We have one more comment, and then I want to move on really quickly to one more thing, and then I'll wrap up.
Yeah, just really quick from the Balsanskar Kendra, the one thing that I wanted to add was that we don't charge money also, we charge a very nominal, like when we do the camps, because paper products and stuff, $25 for 9 to 5. We've had kids overnight also, still the $25 fee. But our sub-team doesn't believe that this yan is for sale, like it's everybody. But I respect whatever organization, I'm just giving our viewpoint. The other thing is that we have a facility in Fairfax Station with like 5,000 square feet, 5 acres, pond, everything. But the challenge is that our kids that came for the Satsangs grew up. So then there were no more new kids coming because our property is not zoned for commercial. So then we came up with the concept of mobile Balsanskar Kendra. So I stuff all my clipboards and my paperwork and my craft or whatever we're going to do, my paper order for the meditation, the chanting, all that. We drag it to certain locations, but they're set locations. I've had success in Gainesville and Reston, and I know Shaylee Venn has hers at Fairfax also. We go to their house. Because of the clipboards, there's less of a problem of laying down and so forth, because the kid has to hold the clipboard in the hand. But I still have issues with that. The other thing is, as far as resource goes, I've been tremendously blessed that Whole Foods, Costco, Staples, Walmart, you go to these people and you usually have a tax ID. And you ask them, you give them a letter about what you're doing, and they have been very generous with supporting us in terms of, it's not a lot, but like Whole Foods gave us a lot of bags that we could give as tokens, or they gave $25 to $30 gift cards where I could buy organic food for the kids for our snack and so forth. So it's been very good in terms of going out to the community to outreach. The other thing is we used to have like a good core team of teachers, but several of them went back, so it's basically now Shaylee Venn and I. But we've been blessed with the resource of our own kids. And don't ever look away from that. Like you who's in college now, the girl with the blue cookie, my college UVA graduates come back and teach our camps. And it's such a blessing to see that whole thing come full circle. That last camp, they were there, they picked a topic about, how do you feel when you're teased? And then the kids were able to relate more to her. My kids, 11-year-old and 15-year-old, they run more of the class at Reston and Gainesville than I do, in terms of what topics they want to discuss and what things that and when it comes from a kid's mouth, it just gets digested way better than me pontificating on the top of a pillar saying this is what you should do. So those are the couple of things that I just wanted to say. Our group is also 7 to 16, and it's a mixed class. It's semi-structured and semi-let loose, depending on what's happening in the times. Steve Jobs passed away, so then we talked about his last moment of death, which was in Hinduism today. That he believed in, he had a Sadhguru, he had taken Karoli Baba and all those. So it's more recent. Some older stuff, some recent. Ideal routine, what you should be behaving like every day. Shirley, do you want to add anything else?
And we do some concentration techniques and meditation that we do in the class, and then we definitely incorporate skit role-playing kind of a stuff.
Because that's when it actually sinks in what you're teaching, when they talk about it. And the best thing, I'm sorry I'm getting away from the subject over here, but the best thing that really works is when they say real people talking about stuff that Hinduism is all about. That's what the real thing is. But
So actually, those 2 points, when we go back, kind of translate, remember those points, but remember them in the curriculum discussion, because I think that's relevant to curriculum, and how we teach the curriculum with kids, experienced youth, people who have gone through the system, that kind of stuff. Very lastly, we have 6 minutes. And I'm going to stop right at 12:45. I'll start yelling and screaming going on our phone issues. All right? So we have 6 minutes. I want to talk about, and this is very important, is marketing and how we market our programs. For those who are very large, it's very easy because people just come. But for some of us, we have to really go out in the community and do a lot of PR, a lot of marketing, a lot of figuring out how do we get new people, how do we get the resources. There was a good point raised about going to established businesses. They loved working with nonprofit charities. That's a great resource. It's a great suggestion. Do it. We know how to do it. We do it all the time. So reach out to us. We will help you with it. But marketing, who has a problem with marketing, right? It's often easier in temples because people come to the temple and they see, oh, look, you have a program. That's great. I want my kid to learn it, and I get to go to the temple. But if you are renting space from a school or have it in someone's home, right, that's a problem. Or is it a problem? Right? It might not be. But that's something I want to discuss in 5 minutes, is how do we get the word out? And why are we getting the word out? Is it to increase our programs, or is it just to make them better, or what?
I'm going to make 2 quick statements about the temple, and one point which you raised about is the temple, people coming in here, they have their own time slots in which they come to temple, so it's not necessarily easy to reach them. So a lot of people come only on Saturday, they don't come on Sunday, they wouldn't know how much it was on Sunday. So just that timing and slot aspect I want to consider also.
So maybe we could think about, are there ways in which we can synergize and help each other on the front of marketing? Because obviously there are different circles that we have, and because I mean the whole idea and the true beauty of this conference is that how at a local level we can work with each other. What are some of the synergies we can pull with each other? And so, I mean, I could kind of see with like, more of with smaller programs, you don't need to do any marketing. People just come to you, because you have more of that, the closeness, the touch, if you will. But then obviously it becomes harder as you scale and get bigger.
I would think it's not.
I'd like to hear from Jim.
Real quick, again, at Hindu Jain Temple, our Vidya Mandir has been happening for over 25 years, so it's pretty well known in the community. But one thing is with marketing, we'll get into this in the technology section too, but we have very active website usage and a very active person who handles the listserv and emails. And we also have a Temple Times newsletter that goes out monthly to all the temple members. So when it comes to Vidya Mandir activities or student programs or any events that happen, we make it a point to not only put up notice boards around the mandir every day of the week, so if anyone comes in whenever they want to do darshan, they can see it first thing when they walk in. We have a little hallway where you go in, and it's there on the notice board. We send it out in emails regularly. We put it in the Temple Times. So again, it's a little different because our program is bigger, but from the Vidya Mandir administrative point, we don't leave any leaf unturned. We do it by word of mouth, or we do it through mail, or we do it through email. Teachers call students and families and their friends. So no matter what way, with marketing, it's a lot more personal and more people put effort into it. So with our Temple Times, we have kids who write out things that go in the Temple Time on the website, and it makes a little bit of a difference because more people get involved that way.
So another, sorry, I'll get to you. I just wanted to make one quick comment. The reason why we wanted to bring up the marketing is because Yeah, it's actually pretty easy right now, given our current climate, population, how we're structured. A lot of H-1Bs, a lot of recent first generations. It's pretty easy to get kids into these programs. But as we're getting older, and as the generations are going to just establish here, it's going to be a lot harder. So we may not have to think about it right now, but as it turns that our kids who are in the Bobby Hards right now become the teachers and administrators, it's going to be really hard for them to get interest, right? That's a reality of being an immigrant culture. The longer you're here, the harder it is to sustain. And that's, I think, we need to start generating the marketing and the PR engines now so that they're in place when they really need to be there. And that's the important thing. And I think that's something about the other point. So.
We have some.
No, we have 1 minute, so if you want to.
I've got one point. Regarding this particular point, we can, all the organizations, and people will benefit. At the end of the day, the kids are the ones who are going to benefit. So we can advertise saying all these things, avenues are available, rather than saying marketing. Have some web page or somewhere. If they go to the DC area, they should know immediately these are the organizations available.
So that's something we're going to get to in the technology section. But that's something that we want to develop, and we don't want to do. We want to do it like nationally. So even if you move, I'm moving to Texas. I don't know anything about Texas. I can go and look up in Texas where I live, what's the closest one we got for my kids to go to. That's something we want to develop, and that's something that we all need to develop together. But last point, and then we need to go to break.
Yeah, just a couple of points I want to make quickly. One is resource sharing. One of the things, we have the temple here, and I have never refused anybody to use this facility for anything as long as it is somehow connected in some way to our Sonata community. And same thing, I would encourage others to share their facilities if possible, wherever possible. We should not think that we are competing. So if you have a program, and Dr. Rao has a program, Chief Mission has a program, absolutely, we should promote them to the temple-going population, to this temple, or to any other temple. I'm part of what is called UHJP, United Hindu Jain Temple Association, and all temples are part of it, and so is Children's Mission, with Shri Parishad and Gayatri Parivar so on. And we constantly talk about it, that let your congregation know what's going on outside by other facilities. And I sometimes get very surprised that there is a tendency of protecting your own. Hey, this is mine. You stay out of it. And that is very counterproductive. And that's one point. The second point is that the way the temples came about in this country, it was primarily for pujas and rituals. When the temples came, they never even thought about educating. So if they brought the ideas from India, a lot of people have money, they say, hey, I want to have a temple. Sure, why not? And even this temple is not well suited for classrooms. So we did not connect education with rituals. So it's a recent phenomenon that we are doing it. And a lot of temples who were not well suited towards that goal in the beginning now are suffering. But they have to go outside and rent space and so on. Anyway, so the point I'm making is please be generous with your facility, whatever you have, for others if it makes it worthwhile for the Hindu Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, to promote it to our nation.
What a great point.
So 2 quick admin notes, and we all go eat. We don't want to lose the crowd, so we want to get a good picture, 1 or 2, before we go for lunch.
Good idea.
And the second thing, and this is very, very important, all of you should have the evaluation sheet. Please make sure that you fill that out, especially if you're not going to be here for the afternoon portion. I hope everybody is here because we have a pretty small crowd to begin with, but a very solid crowd. So please fill out your contact information and stuff, and if you do have to leave, please make sure that those evaluations get turned in. And we're going to do a quick picture now before we disperse for lunch. How do you want to do the group pictures? Just sitting or?
Stand there.
Stand somewhere.
Table out and just stand and sit on that desk so that everybody can come.
Don't make it high tech. Stand there, take a picture.
It's all you. bring all this technology down here.